Hey friends, I hope you're doing really well. We have a treat, obviously, because this dog is usually very, very unimpressed and uninterested in being with me during my daytime, talking to you all and talking to clients and all that. But here he is. This is John. He's going to hang out with us, I guess, a few minutes. We'll see if he stays. But I had a direct question from somebody who regularly, you watches our videos here and our teachings, and they ask about fear and anxiety when hunger's happening, whether the hunger is from intentional restriction or not well planned out, getting needs met, or maybe even just like kind of normal hunger that would pop. But there's all kinds of reasons why we get hungry, right? And it's not an uncommon thing to have anxiety about hunger. So it's really interesting, right? Some of you maybe feel like relieved when you have hunger, or even maybe, I know at the beginning of my recovery, I would notice that when I got hungry, that I feel pride about that, like, oh, I did something good because I'm so starving. And I know that's just part of the eating disorder, pride stuff. But later on, I think as time goes by, and maybe, as our minds start to kind of get renewed, and we're more, working more towards our bigger term values and stuff like that, that when we go hungry, when we've been trying to eat more food, I know this happened to me, and maybe it's happening to you, and maybe this is why this viewer asked this question, is that hunger feels kind of scary. And I'll just share with you personally what I've experienced, and then maybe those of you watching, like, yeah, that sounds right too. And this is also, whoops, I think he's going to leave. You leaving us? Yep, he's gone. Um, Maybe not. I think that is very, very common. I see it a lot in my different clients too. So there's a kind of a trauma related to being underfed for significant amounts of time. And it doesn't matter if you don't, whether you call dieting semi-starvation or not. I respect your lived experience. However, the body cellularly, if your brain and your organ systems aren't getting enough fuel to run optimally, there starts to become a threat response. And sometimes we override our threat responses and we just keep restricting anyway, or we're on maybe substances that suppress some of that, or we're just really good at ignoring it, whatever. Um, doesn't mean it's not there. And over time, that starts to feel like a chronic stress and threat response. And so when our mind is starting to say, like, oh, eating isn't the threat, I want to be well nourished, I want to be um, cared for and tended to, and I don't believe anymore, at least fully, that I'm a better person, or version of myself if I'm restricting or losing weight. When we start to feel hunger that maybe we didn't expect, or maybe we just weren't expecting that big a response to our bodies of like, oh my gosh, we're going back. I always felt like my body was telling me, oh no, we're going back to the bad old days. Yeah, you were in a thinner body, but like you were starving, your head hurt, you couldn't focus, you weren't physically, um, maybe at the beginning you're physically you're fine, you have some stamina, but as time goes on, you have less and less, just because you're eating muscle, the less you're eating, right. So I think sometimes there's this not sometimes there's this body mind connection of like, this feeling feels like I used to feel um when I was being underfed, and all the sensations and even the thoughts that go with it, the belief systems that go with it. So I know it took me probably 6 months, if not a year. This is after the first couple of years of recovery, where when I would get really hungry, that I wouldn't be afraid. And what I had to do, and I'm just going to jump right to like, check this out and see if this helps you or try it out, is that I just kept, I was the person with a backpack of food everywhere. And not because there wasn't food available, but my system needed to know that I had food on hand and then I wasn't going to starve again. I think psychologically, I needed the reassurance that I wasn't going to let the disorder take back hold of the progress I had made just because of circumstances like being busy or not planning ahead, or being on a long road trip in the car, or waiting in line somewhere. My body and my mind needed to know that I was going to take care of things regardless of the circumstances. Basically, that I was willing to take measures to have my own back, my body's back, that I wasn't going to like go back to that lifestyle. Basically, there's some trauma with it. You know, having an eating disorder, the reasons we have one is, you know, all kinds of different kinds of neglect and all kinds of relational stuff and pressure and trauma and all that itself. But then the behaviors become traumatic to the body and the mind as well. So there's different layers of stuff we're working through. So I hope this answers specifically or gives some insight to this person. Like, why am I so anxious when I get so hungry? I just think that our mind bodies don't want to go back there. You know, even if we still have some ambivalence about our weight, like, you know, we're not going to try to lose weight, but we'd like to. That's a little bit of a threat to the system itself, but that's something they can continue to work on in terms of healing those rejection wounds and fear of what people think and all that. That can be continued to be worked on, and that can get healed. But I think that just the physicality of restriction can bring up old body memories of pain and suffering, and your body doesn't want to do that again. And it knows the precursors to that, which is, or the signs of that, which is like skipping meals, getting too hungry. And it will take some time for your body and you to get on the same page of like, body, I'm sorry, I didn't plan that well this morning, or I accidentally underate, or I got super stressed. And now that I'm less, you know, activated more in my window, I could tell how hungry I am. I just couldn't tell before. You have to have I would be actually like audibly verbal to your body about that, and explicit that I'm sorry. I wasn't trying to do that. If you are trying to do that, you are going to have to contend with honestly the split you might feel inside about that. Like, what am I doing? But I'm afraid not to. There's some work to be done, and you're naturally going to have a lot of distress if there's purposeful restriction, and it's triggering your body to be afraid. You know, I know that that's not something that maybe people really truly want to be living with, but maybe that's all you know, or you're afraid if you don't do it, something worse will happen, or there won't be any containment to your other feelings. There's a lot of reasons why we do things that aren't good for us, right? So that's for another video. Well, thank you so much. We had our friend this whole time, which is not very common. So it's actually kind of a treat for me, and maybe for you as well. So hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.